Hello everybody and welcome to Level 5, the home YouTube channel to movie, TV show, comic book and video game content. Of course, I'm your host Level 5, and in today's video I want to dive in and talk about Gears of War E-Day and everything that we know and what I hope for the game. So Gears of War E-Day is going to be the next main line installment to the Gears of War franchise, which is fantastic. Gears of War 6 apparently is going to be a thing which will wrap up, of course, what happened in Gears 4 and Gears 5, which is perfectly fine. I'm very happy for them to dive back and give us this prequel. This is a prequel and this takes place on Emergence Day. Emergence Day, of course, is the very first time the Locust Hordes ever emerged from the surface, onto the surface and attacked the human race of Sierra, and of course that began this massive genocidal war between the human race and the Locusts that we know and love throughout the Gears of War franchise. So this actually takes place 14 years before the first game, which means our main characters will be slightly different to how we know them. We're playing as Marcus once again, and Dom will be our side character, and of course the whole point of these two characters is to protect civilians and fight for the human race. And this will be taking place 14 years prior, which means they're not as good of friends as they are during the first, second and third game, which I'm perfectly fine with. They're not labelled as best friends yet, and hopefully throughout Gears of War E-Day, we'll see them go from companions in war to actual best friends, as this is the early stages. They'll also be grieving over the loss of Dom's brother Carlos, that's been noted, and I'm very willing and kind of excited to see how this will affect both of them. Maybe they can bond over it, maybe we'll get a moment with Dom and Marcus, and maybe they'll have communication in some way, maybe an argument or a conversation where they'll be talking about Carlos. Now, of course, as this is Emergence Day, and everybody, of course, is now dealing with the Locust War, I'm expecting a lot of violence, I'm expecting a lot of death, and I'm expecting a lot of destruction, because obviously subterranean threat attacking the world that, has never seen this before, which I'm also hoping that means we get to see Sierra before the attack. If you go and play through the main trilogy of Gears of War, everything's in destruction, everything is, lackluster in supplies, food, rations, medication, and things like this, and it's not until realistically Gears 4 when, it's been some time since Emergence and the end of the Locust, and that got all sorted by, Phoenix, we haven't really seen the world in its purity. So hopefully it's going to be somewhat different when it comes to locations, the maps, and, the actual area that we get to run around. This will not be open world. Apparently, the gameplay will be linear, so it will play like the original trilogy, unlike Gears 5, which personally I don't like the whole open world of Gears 5. This will take place 6 weeks after the end of the Pendulum Wars, which also gets mentioned in the Gears of War franchise. Personally, I would have loved a prequel game to that, showing off the Pendulum Wars, but maybe that's something for the future of Gears of Wars, who knows. So this, of course, is the in-between stage of the Locust Horde and, the War of the Locusts that we know of Gears of War and the Pendulum Wars. So Sierra isn't going to be 100% perfect and beautiful, but hopefully we get to see more life. We are now running on a better engine when it comes to making games. We're now on a better console when it comes to making games. So I'm hoping to see more of the world building here. Give us civilians that are scared and running. Give us more character development and character designs and stuff. Give the world a fresh new take, because not only is this a prequel, but you're running on a better engine with better graphics. And I'm really hoping for the world to speak to us through the civilians, the architecture, and all sorts of stuff. And that's what I'm really hoping for. So what do we know about Marcus and Dominic? Well, we do know that, of course, they're war heroes of the Pendulum War, and they are, childhood friends to some extent. but we know that they're not going to be the best of friends that we know in Gears of War trilogy. So, once again, like I said, I'm hoping it has... If you look at the Gears of War fandom wiki page, it mentions the loss of Dom's brother Carlos, so I'm kind of hoping that that sort of, grief does kind of play in their storyline, and we'll get to see them become the friends we know and love in the trilogy, or at least make it make sense, at least. We also know that this is going to be a game that takes place over a number of days, which makes sense. Gears of War and Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3 do kind of follow the same sort of suit here, where you take place over the course of several days and nights, and we get to play in different times of day and stuff, so that makes perfect sense. We know for a fact that the weapons aren't going to be as, dedicated and built for Locust. If you play the original Gears of War trilogy, their weapons are designed to take out the Locust. We have the main weapons, like the shotgun and the assault rifle, of course, has a built-in chainsaw, which is really cool. I absolutely love that gun. It's one of the best game weapons of all time, and we're not going to have that. We're not going to have certain vehicles that we also see that take down, well, Locust, or help at least defend our soldiers when traversing through the world against the Locust. So it'll be nice to see different types of weapons. Give us weapons that maybe only work on certain forms of Locust, or, something like that. So, obviously, we do have the Lancer rifle, like I mentioned. It's an assault rifle with a chainsaw attached, and we're gonna see the very first version of that gun, which is really cool. We actually see two main versions of it throughout the 5 games. We obviously have the normal Lancer with the chainsaw, then there's an upgraded version later on, and so they will get to see the very first addition to this, and I'm hoping that it's powerful. I'm hoping that it's good, and maybe even plays around the idea that it's the first one. Maybe it has some faults, or maybe it has some a gaming mechanic that you gotta work with. Obviously, the reload mechanic will be back as well. Gears of War has a very unique reload mechanic, where when you reload, if you don't hit that margin in that bar at the right time, you can actually fuck up your gun, and you're now reloading properly, and yeah, it can fuck you up, and it's all about timing, and I really hope that they get to play on that with the whole new gun that we know and love as the Lancer. But it's to Dom and Marcus, it is the very first time they've ever used this gun. We do know for a fact we're going to get a new location called Kelowna. I could be pronouncing that wrong. It's the very first time we're ever going to go to this location, and it's apparently one of the major cities. And it did obviously get affected by the Pendulum War, but apparently it's going to be one of the major battle points in Emergence Day. So obviously we're going to go here. Locust Horde emerges from the ground, and it initiates their world war that goes across all of humanity, and affects Sierra. So this is apparently very infamous of being one of the first cities ever to fall to the Locust. So it'd be really cool to see that happen in this game. Maybe it's one of the big focal points of the game is, Dom and Marcus are in Kelowna and they have the city fall. Maybe that's actually the end game to this game, is this city falling. Maybe like the third act of the game is trying to not have the city fall, but nevertheless the city does fall anyway. Who knows, but Kelowna is going to play a big role in this game, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Like I said, I want to see the architecture, I want to see the people, I want to see how the first emergence of the Locust really truly affects everything around in Sierra, and I really hope that Kelowna can give us that. Something else that is also worth noting, and I'm gonna pronounce this name wrong, I know that, but we also have the Locust head scientist, Ukon, who is the person who experimented on hollow creatures and humans, who he did this throughout the war, but he definitely did this before Emergence Day. And so we're kind of, maybe he can make an appearance, or maybe we can get some indication on his experiments. Obviously, in Gears of War and the main trilogy, it's 14 years later, so maybe we can see the start of his experiments and stuff. That would be kind of cool. One thing to note as well is Queen Myra may make an appearance, but I'm not entirely sure. She wasn't really seen much in the first Gears of War game, but we do know that within the first 26 hours, 25% of the human population on Sierra was completely wiped out, so I'm really hoping for mass destruction here. That's all I'm asking for. Is that really hard to ask? So we have Marcus and Dom, going from companions to proper best friends throughout this game. We have Emergence Days. It'll be the very first time that the human race on Sierra has ever seen the Locust, and of course we'll get the introduction to the very first type of Lancer, maybe the very first type of other equipment as well, and this will play pretty much similar to the main Gears of War trilogy. Unlike Gears of War 5 that did mix it up, is going back to its roots. That's pretty much what we know, and we know that one of the major cities that fell will be in this game. Now, here's some of my, other hopes. I mentioned what I hoped in the story, but here's my other hopes that we do get a multiplayer. It hasn't been 100% confirmed if we're getting a multiplayer, but Gears of War does do multiplayer, and I'm hoping they do redefine the multiplayer just a little bit. I have tried playing the Gears of War multiplayer on the remastered Gears of War. I haven't tried playing on Gears 5 yet as of recording this video, but it is very restricted and it is very different to other multiplayer games. But I really hope that they do bring back the multiplayer using the engine that we have now and the console that we have now. Bring the multiplayer to a whole fruition. You could really sell this game on the multiplayer alone. I don't want it to be the case where the game is more for the multiplayer, like Call of Duty and Battlefield. Yes, they have storylines, but they're sold for the multiplayer. But give people a chance to play the storyline, have fun with it, give them a good story, have it full of tears and traumatic events, and have people gobsmacked. That's exactly what we're after in a Gears of War game, but make it so people can come back to the game when they want to and enjoy the multiplayer. Don't make it so tight and so restricting like the remastered version is. Make it more linear. Make it more accessible for everyone to dive into, because this could be someone's very first Gears of War game, and it makes sense, it is a prequel, but this could be someone's introduction to Gears of War, and make it the multiplayer just somewhat fun and accessible. Now, quickly, before I end this video, because I rambled enough, I just want to talk about one character I want to see come back for this prequel, because obviously this is a prequel, which means any character that we saw realistically in the first one, maybe the second game as well, could come back in the prequel, and that is Tai. He obviously shows up in the Gears of War trilogy, and sadly we do lose him in the storyline, but Tai could come back because it is stated that in the Locust War, during an attack, a drone is hassling Marcus, who's rushing and wrestling with a drone, and he's unable to reach any of his weapons, and Tai does come up from behind with a power saw and slices the drone in half. This is where Tai remarks that the world was full of weapons waiting to be used, and Tai's use of the power saw actually leads to the creation to the chainsaw bayonet after Marcus recommended to his father that the regular bayonet gets replaced. That is the Lancer itself. So Tai could full well be in this game, and I really hope he is, because that's what's stated, in lore. So really hoping that Tai is a part of the game. He's a character that wasn't in a lot of the game, and I really hope he comes back. Give Tai a bit more of, character development as well. Yes, this game focuses on Mark and Dom. Absolutely, very happy with that. But surely we can give more time and attention to other characters, and I really hope that Tai is just one of those characters. So, there you go, that's kind of everything that we know of so far. As of recording this, we are in January 2026, and as of recording this, those are my hopes. Just flesh out the world, give us a good multiplayer, and give us some really traumatic, emotional conversations between Marcus and Dom. We know that they're going to be grieving over, a fallen brother and stuff like this, so yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys want for Giz or Ide, and I really hope everyone enjoyed my little rant here on YouTube. And of course, do hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell if you guys haven't already. We're with passion, everyone. I do love you all, and I shall see you guys in the next one.